Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Bottom left hand corner we have oGs.Ensnare starting as the blue terran. Bottom right hand corner we have Incontrol starting as the red protoss. This is on BackWater Gulch and it is game 2 of NASL Rewind. The top level matchup from Division 2 play of last week. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you missed game 1, Incontrol stole a game off oGs.Ensnare, and I'm not even sure that I can call it a steal. He heads up just beat oGs.Ensnare. Ensnare tempting forward with a siege tank marine push. Incontrol with a clutch Colossus out of nowhere, almost Pokemon style. A wild Colossus has appeared out of the brush. Able to completely obliterate the Marines of oGs.Ensnare, and as a result, follow up and pick off several siege tanks. oGs.Ensnare was on his back heels, and Incontrol able to topple him with a nice positional maneuver to sweep underneath his main army while he took the gold expansion at the 3 o'clock location. So in game 2, oGs.Ensnare on the line needs to take a match to not be eliminated in this set. This is a best of 3. Looks like Incontrol starting to scout that upper right hand corner with this probe, which is a bit unfortunate because he's going to come across oGs.Ensnare's base dead last very late. This is BackWater Gulch. By the way, if you're not familiar with this map, you have a single wide force field ramp. You also have a double pitchfork opening, or I guess a single pitchfork opening. And not even a pitchfork because it's just, I guess, a solid fork? Not 3 prongs, 2. There we go. It reminds me a bit of Xel'Naga Caverns if you actually rotate it and then mirror it. Anyway, natural expansion lying there as well. Destructible rock, which leads to additional territory, although the destructible rock that leads to more expansions is down a plateau. Essentially, you also have the gold expansion in the middle of the map, which is very difficult to hold unless you have absolute map dominance, and some fun Xel'Naga watchtowers behind hidden brush, where you can have some shenanigans depending on what goes on there. Actually, I like that a lot. Barracks to open up for oGs.Ensnare, and no gas take again. So it looks like he's going to once again utilize a heavy mineral, heavy marine opening to try to take an economic lead against Incontrol. Incontrol's probe moving forward, but unfortunately for him, a marine will pop out momentarily, denying a significant amount of information here. Ooh, Incontrol nowhere near the refinery to get a good look, so he doesn't have a big idea of what Ensnare's up to. Ensnare could really be up to anything from Incontrol's perspective at this stage. Being boxed out. oGs.Ensnare already planning that command center. Incontrol has no idea. It looks like Incontrol in the meantime, cybernetics core, second gas, perhaps leading into a sentry build exactly like game 1. I think sentries are somewhat less effective on this map just because of the large and open areas. It's a little bit more effective towards this natural expansion area where you can still provide some solid defense with those force fields, but if you're talking about entry, just looking at the middle of the map, it's huge, absolutely huge, so much space to work with, so you really have to divide forces at really critical points. Basically, you need more sentries to divide the army in half because there's a lot of place for them to run, a lot of place for armies to run around with. You do have a pylon at the 9 o'clock location, a little bit on the interior there, which could provide a later game zealot to scout or something along those lines. 3 barracks now for oGs.Ensnare, very heavy marine count to start, and a preventative bunker just in case. He has an additional SCV that was starting to move out to location, but instead just gonna hang out at the Xel'Naga watchtower for the moment. Second gateway up and running. Cybernetics core has warp tech about halfway finished, and we have a Twilight Council up for Incontrol. He is thinking about going for a, well, it's possible we will see a Zealot leg rush, but much more likely we are going to see a Dark Templar opening. Probe continuing to scout around, just trying to hunt down that SCV to try to minimize information. So the question for Ensnare is, does he get an engineering bay out, and does he preserve some scanner sweep energy off these orbital commands? 4th barracks now in production for him, so playing very gas-light to start. 3rd gateway now up for Incontrol. And it looks like a probe hanging out waiting to get enough resources. There's the Dark Shrine in production. And this is a very odd selection, I have to say, for Incontrol as far as build order goes, because he's playing against Ensnare, and this is one of those guys that you have to expect, you have to rely, actually, that he would account for Dark Templar in his build. I could see Lesser Terran losing to this, particularly in this situation, but I can't see oGs.Ensnare losing to this. Looks like a SCV is at risk of pushing up the ramp. Only a single Zealot and a Stalker at kind of an awkward situation, awkward angle to engage this SCV, so it is possible. Oh, and the Zealot moving off as well. A couple units being warped in, a Sentry, an additional Stalker, and now that SCV, if it gets in, it will be devastating. Everything will be revealed. It looks like he's still going to get a good look at the unit count of Incontrol. 3 Zealots, a Sentry, and 2 Stalkers. Very suspicious. I think he saw that probe moving to the natural, so that might give him the impression that Incontrol is actually going for a more of an economic build to follow things up. And unfortunately for Incontrol, there is the engineering bay hugging the natural expansion. Now it is all down to turret placement and perhaps execution. There's that missile turret, and beautiful arrangement, I have to say. 2 bunkers just in case there was an all-in coming. And it looks like Incontrol trying to open up that destructible rocks to make a shorter path for reinforcements to flood in. 2 Dark Templar warping it, but it looks like Ensnare has a excellent Marine line to block this ramp to engage Dark Templar as they come. That turret is finished, and this is a death trap. Moving in, Incontrol sending both at once, wants to try to sneak one in. Unfortunately, engaging the Marine's head up, and too many Marines there. Dark Templar being stopped short. Ensnare saying, okay, you didn't do any damage whatsoever. I'm going to take my own destructible rock down, maybe go up to a 3rd base. Incontrol actually might think about canceling this Nexus, because as the flat unit count goes, he has got 2 Stalkers, a single Dark Templar that might provide him some map control here. Although perhaps less once the destructible rock is taken down. A single sentry and 3 zealots to defend this entire map. It is somewhat safe to expand, but he needs more Dark Templar out in the field, engaging this Marine force as soon as they leave that protective comsat range. And on top of that, once this once this orbital command has additional scanner sweep, these Marines are going to be even more dangerous in open field. Looks like Incontrol is sweeping to the south, is scouting a couple units out here. But again, he needs to slow this attack force down. Also taking an additional expansion. Wow. So very risky. Again, needs to hold and defend against what will inevitably be a Marine push for Ensnare. So many barracks out here. Is going to wait for concussive actually, I'm surprised he didn't go Stimpack here. Getting concussive shells instead, perhaps to slow Dark Templar if they're caught in open field. And Incontrol, again, still playing very light economically, bringing up the unit tab. You can see the mineral war is very much in favor of Ensnare, hugely in fact. Wow. And now a preventative supply depot to create an additional blockade, so that Dark Templar would have even more difficulty defending that front. Dark Templar not engaging these Marines initially, really needed to. They need to slow this army down, because this is not much of an attack force to engage such a huge ground army. My goodness. 3 Marauders and a plethora, an absolute plethora of Marines. Stalker Zealots moving out to the forward base. This is going to be a critical engagement. Incontrol engaging with the 1st Dark Templar, doing a couple slices there. There's the comsat, completely obliterating the 1st Dark Templar. 2nd Dark Templar waiting. Scanner sweep still up though. Loses the 2nd Dark Templar. That was devastating. Couple more Stalkers warping in. There's a single preventative force field, but actually there's so many Marines and Marauders, they might be able to just straight up push through this on 2 separate engagements. Ensnare trying to micro a little bit, doesn't really need to though. Only 3 Stalkers remaining. Incontrol GG's, he cannot hold it. We are going to move on to a game 3 on Tal'Darim Altar. So Incontrol with a bit of a questionable opening, losing game 2. Poor execution, I have to say as well. Hope you guys enjoyed it though. Thank you for listening.